Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
If I asked the average person to try my daily oatmeal bowl, salad, soup, and black bean brownie, they probably wouldn't fall in love with it immediately. They'd much rather have their processed cereal, oil-dressed salad, heavily salted soup, or sugar-laced brownie. And when I say they'd much rather have it, I mean they would cling to their favorite processed foods as if life would be over without them. And once you understand the science behind it, it's a little disturbing. But for those on a whole foods plant-based diet, these same healthy meals that processed food lovers tend to dislike are thoroughly enjoyable. So why is it that healthy people tend to like healthy food a lot more than the average person? And why is it that the average person is almost addicted to these highly processed foods? And how can you start to like healthy foods and make them taste better? Even vegetables. So let's get into it. And I thought I'd pair this video with a nice 2-week experiment that my brother and I did. So day one, I'm gonna be trying out this sauerkraut, this brain kraut that typically I never eat sauerkraut, I don't like it. He's gonna be trying out an oatmeal dish that has oats in it, chia seeds, pecans, cherries, blackberries, and a banana in it. And typically you wouldn't eat something like this, right? So we're gonna see after eating this, is it possible after 2 weeks, eating every single day, to start liking food that we normally don't like? When it comes to restaurant, packaged, factory, or frozen food, there's a reason why it's so tasty and desirable. A lot of times in the background, there's a team of food scientists that are constantly tweaking the added ingredients of salt, oil, and sugar to create the best tasting food. And as you start to eat more and more of these foods that have the added salt, oil, and sugar, your taste buds start to desensitize. And you're gonna need to start to eat more and more sugar, oil, and salt to have that same enjoyment and pleasure out of that same food. And it's why the average American is consuming more salt, oil, and sugar in this decade than any other decade in history. So let's start off with salt. There's many reasons why salt is added to food, such as heightening flavor, reducing bitterness, and enhancing sweetness. And as you start to consume more and more salt, you tend to prefer saltier and saltier foods. You've become accustomed to the saltiness of it. But the good thing is this can be reversed. By starting to consume a low salt diet, you can actually regain your taste bud sensitivity and relearn to like less salty foods. In one study, they took a group of people and put them on a low sodium diet for 24 weeks, which is about 6 months. And they asked the participants to taste a lower sodium soup and a higher sodium soup as they progressed throughout the 24 weeks. And what they found is that as they progressed, they tend to like the lower sodium soup more and the higher sodium soup less. And by the end of the 24 weeks, they actually tended to prefer the lower sodium soup over the higher sodium soup. So the key here is if you want to start liking lower sodium foods, you have to start cutting out and reducing your salt intake on your daily diet. And let's touch on oil next, which unsurprisingly has a lot of similar effects to the salt. Now, traditionally it was thought that people couldn't taste added fats like oil the same way they could taste sweet, sour, and salty, but new research is actually challenging that. People who are on a low-fat diet start to prefer lower-fat foods more and higher-fat foods less. And as Dr. Michael Greger states, our tongues appear to become more sensitive to fat if we eat less of it. And the more sensitive our tongue becomes, the less butter, meat, dairy, and eggs study subjects ate. We also get a blunted taste for fat if we eat too much. This diminished fat sensitivity has been linked to eating more calories, more fat, more dairy, meat, and eggs, and becoming fatter ourselves. To summarize, the more oil we consume, the more we crave and demand it. And if we want to start eliminating these cravings and demands for these added oil foods, then we need to start eliminating added oil from our diet as well. And lastly, and possibly the scariest, added sugar. In one study, they had a group of 20 participants go on a sugar detox for 2 weeks. They then gauged how much they craved sugar along the way. After 3 days on the sugar detox, 53% of the participants said they had lost their craving for sugar. After 6 days, 87% of the participants said they had lost their craving for sugar. And the idea is the longer you go without added sugar in your diet, the less you're going to crave sugar. And if you want to know how serious sugar cravings can be, just take a look at the conclusion of this study that I stumbled upon during my research. Our findings clearly demonstrate that intense sweetness can surpass cocaine reward, even in drug-sensitized and addicted individuals. In summary, cocaine addicts who crave cocaine find the cocaine less rewarding than the intense sweetness of added sugar. And it's kind of scary once you start to realize how powerful sugar is and how prevalent it is in all the processed foods that we eat today. Not the best, but not the worst. Keep eating. Maybe you gotta get some of the cherries in it or something. Is it any good?
It's not horrible, not much flavor.
In each of these foods individually, salt, oil, and sugar can desensitize our taste buds to prefer highly processed foods over whole foods. And when companies are going and combining all three of these ingredients and then running taste tests to optimize their proportions and potency, it's no wonder why we don't prefer healthy food anymore. It's no wonder we can't imagine our lives without these highly processed foods like Frosted Flakes, pizza, Cheetos, Doritos, ice cream, KFC chicken, Whoppers. It's no wonder we don't have the taste bud sensitivity to enjoy whole foods like apples, tomatoes, oranges, bananas, carrots. And not only do we not give ourselves a chance to enjoy these healthy whole foods, but in going through a lot of the research, it was hard for me to not think that most people's attachment to these highly processed foods are an addiction. So based on this information, you can see how cutting out highly processed foods with added salt, oil, and sugar can help us regain our taste bud sensitivity, which is going to give us a lot greater chance at enjoying healthy whole foods. But that doesn't mean you're going to immediately fall in love with carrots, bell peppers, peas, and tomatoes. But with repeated exposure to healthy foods, you can start to train your taste buds to like foods that you otherwise started out not liking. And so a good example of this comes from a study that was done on elementary school children. So what they did was they took this group of children and split it into two groups. Group 1 were the children who didn't like the vegetables to start out with, and Group 2 was the control group who already did like the vegetables. And what they did was they provided the kids with the bell peppers, the peas, the tomatoes, and the carrots, and they had them gauge their fondness for the food, and then they had them repeat this experiment over a period of time. And what they found was that repeated exposure to these vegetables that they didn't like caused their taste buds to adapt, and their fondness for the vegetables started to increase. And what we can gain from this is that repeated exposure to a food allows our taste buds to adapt and allows us to enjoy it more. So if you want to start liking a food and you don't like it right now, start eating it over and over and over again. After days, weeks, and months, your taste buds are going to adapt, and it gives you a lot better chance of enjoying these healthy foods. Day 3 sauerkraut update. It does seem to taste much better if I eat it before my meal when I'm hungry compared to if I eat it after my meal and I'm kind of full already. And the last part I'll mention about trying to like a healthy food is to eat it when you're hungriest and then provide yourself with a reward. When you're hungriest, your taste bud sensitivity is going to be at your highest, and it's going to give you the greatest chance of liking that food, and then providing yourself with a little reward can reinforce that positive behavior. And so a good example of this is how I've handled my lunch within the past year. My lunch usually includes a salad, a soup, and a fresh fruit. And at the beginning, I tended not to like the salad so much. The soup was okay, and then the fresh fruit, I tend to like all fruits. So what I did for my lunch is I had that salad up front first when I was at my hungriest, and that allowed me to get through the salad. And then I followed that up with the soup, which I already kind of liked, and then I finished it off with a reward, which was the healthy fruit. And what I noticed was after I started repeating this process, over the past year, my fondness for the salad has increased immensely to where the point I really enjoy the salads now. I could just have the salad alone. But I don't know if this would have been possible if I would have had my lunch in the opposite order. If I had the apple first, followed it up with the soup, and then had to finish the salad on almost a full stomach, I don't know if I would have gotten through the salad and really enjoyed it. So I think this is a process where you can take a healthy food, eat it when you're hungry, follow it up with a healthy reward, and it's going to help you start to change your taste buds and live a healthier lifestyle where you start enjoying these foods. So now that we understand why many people don't like healthy foods to start off with, and we understand how we can change our taste preferences to start to like healthy food, how can we make these healthy foods taste even better? Well, here's a quick list summarizing some brief steps you can take. Alliums. Add roasted garlic, water sauteed onion, and chopped scallions to soups, salads, and various dishes to enhance the flavor. Add herbs like basil, thyme, and parsley to various meals as you're cooking. Add spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, black pepper, turmeric to oatmeal dishes, or really any dinner meal that you want to start to enhance the flavor of. Probably my favorite, citrus or fruit. A lot of times I'll blend up dates, blueberries, or bananas to add that to a dressing or a sauce or something like that to provide the sweetness. And then you can top a meal with lime juice, lemon juice, or orange juice, which provides a nice little flavor too. And lastly, you can drizzle a little bit of vinegar like apple cider, balsamic, or rice vinegar to provide a little bit different taste as well. And all these options can provide just a depth of flavor to these dishes, making them a lot tastier and healthier too. I don't know, I guess I don't mind it. What I've noticed is that I look forward to eating the sauerkraut, which is kind of weird. I don't know if it's just because of the experiment that we're doing or not, but I wouldn't say necessarily like it or dislike it. It's more just that I just eat it.
The oatmeal, it doesn't taste good, but it's easier to eat all of it.
So when you first had it, you didn't mind it when you started eating the oatmeal, but as you went through the meal,
I got tired of it.
You got tired of it and started disliking it. But now it's easier to get through it at least?
Yeah.
So here are my final thoughts. It's difficult to like healthy foods if you're eating a highly processed diet with added salt, oil, and sugar. But if you make the transition to a whole food plant-based diet and start eliminating these added salts, oils, and sugars, you can start to regain taste bud sensitivity and enjoy whole foods in a way that might not be completely understandable right now. But understand that this transition takes time. Repeated exposure to these healthy foods over days, weeks, months, and even years is going to be a process that you're going to have to follow. And you can make this transition easier by eating the foods you don't like when you're at your hungriest, and then following them up with a healthy reward, which is a food that you already know you like. And don't forget to add the alliums, fruits, vinegars, herbs, and spices to enhance the flavor of the dishes. And all of this will give you your best chance of enjoying these healthy whole foods, which might be hard to comprehend right now, but trust me, I've done it, and I've seen many other people do it, and the science backs it up too. It's your best chance of liking healthy whole foods for a healthier and happier life. Like the main thing I noticed when I first tried it was pretty sour. It wasn't that good, but it was also like not terrible at the same time. And now I don't get that first initial reaction of the sourness. I wouldn't say I love it, but I would say like I eat it and I don't really think about it. Like I could probably eat it every day and not mind it.
The oatmeal, it's decent now.
And at the beginning, you had a hard time eating through the whole oatmeal dish. Do you still have a hard time eating the whole thing? No. Thanks for watching the end of the video. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Lastly, if you want access to my health kit, which provides my top 10 sleep tips, one Whole Foods plant-based recipe, and a mobility workout that you can stream on any device, there's a link down in the description for that. It's free. It also gets you signed up to my weekly newsletter where I provide the 3 most important things I've read, watched, and listened to within the past week. All of it completely free. Link down in the description if you're interested in that. Let's just do an outro. Thanks again for watching to the end of the video. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
I have to say that?
No, you just said the first sentence.
This is so weird talking to a camera. I can't even say it. Thanks for watching till the end of the video.
Look forward to seeing you guys next week. See, that's not bad.
No.